Welcome to today's yoga question. I'm Lizzie Lassiter. Today we're talking about how to teach a restorative yoga class online. So many of us are shifting our work into the digital realm because of the coronavirus and staying home more. So I've been getting that question a lot in the past couple of weeks via email, and I thought I'd make a video to share with you here. So I have 8 simple points that I think will help you, or what I've learned over the years of working digitally. Number 1, give yourself empathy. Teaching online is hard, especially what I think most of you are doing, which are what I call experiential classes, where students are logging in potentially live or later, and they're trying to have an experience of doing a yoga class with you through the computer. That's the hardest format. It's hard to stay interesting and sticky, hold people's attention. You're competing against their phone, which is right next to them. And since they're alone in their apartment or in a room in their house, they're much more tempted to multitask or slip away. So it is really challenging to give someone an experiential yoga class over the internet. That's what I believe and have found. So acknowledge that from the beginning and give yourself empathy that you're trying something really hard. I believe it's much easier what I tend to do, these kind of instructional videos where I'm teaching yoga teachers online. All right, point number 2. Focus less on props and more on the position. This is especially for restorative, of course. So almost no one will have a full prop station at their home to practice with. So I would think of the setups you can make, first of all, with objects that most people have, with just couch pillows and bed pillows and blankets that everyone has lying around. No one, for example, will have 5 yoga blankets like some yoga teachers do. Most of your students will have I would expect them to have a mat, maybe a block. So you have to get creative and specifically focus, teach to even explicitly say that it's about the position you're creating with your body, which is true in restorative yoga. It's really never about the specific setup of the props. So show them what position you're trying to get them into, and then encourage them to be creative themselves with creating that position with what they have at home. All right, number 3, consider it part of your job to teach people how to practice on their own. I hope that one bright spot that can come out of all of this social distancing is that we will invest in or rediscover a home practice. So yoga, I believe, is at its most powerful when we practice alone at home. And when you're doing these online classes, especially restorative, lends itself so much to a home practice because it's not that complicated. There's not a lot of sequencing or bells and whistles. You can teach someone how to do a really solid supported Savasana, for example, and say, all right, I challenge you to do this pose every day for the next week, 20 minutes. Just one pose. And in restorative, one pose will change your life. If you do 20 minutes of restorative yoga a day, it will absolutely change your reality, your experience of reality, your life, your relationships. So much will trickle down from that. So think of part of your job as being teaching people how to practice on their own. All right, number 4, talk less. I say that in every restorative yoga teaching context. Talk less. Remember, this practice specifically is a gateway into silence, a structured way for your students to live and experience a kind of full, rich dose of silence. So don't be afraid of letting it be a little bit silent. Okay. Number 5, encourage people to turn on their own video. It depends. People are using different platforms for sharing yoga online right now. But if there's any way for at least some portion of your class, I definitely encourage you to have your students turn on their own video. Makes a huge difference. in terms of their feeling of accountability, even if you're not really watching every student. And of course, it's hard to kind of give alignment ideas or corrections when you're seeing these little squares of all your students. But it gives a sense of community. I think it's really good for the students to see the other students. And for me, whenever I'm teaching online, if I can see people, it helps me relax. I don't feel so much just me talking into a computer. There's a sense of a communication feedback loop. Okay, number 6, consider using a model. So if you can grab someone, your partner, your roommate, and ask them to be with you while you teach your class, that makes a big difference, because you can set them up in the poses as opposed to setting yourself up in the poses. And then you can still speak to the camera or the computer, and you have a little bit more sort of bandwidth to multitask. Because when you're setting yourself up in the pose, you get a little bit locked in there. And especially there's a portion, depends what platform again, but sometimes in online media, then the students are typing in comments. And so that can be quite distracting. And you might have the feeling like your attention is scattered. So if you have a model, let's say your partner, you set them up in a supported reclining pose, and then you're sitting there holding the space for everyone, and then you can ring your bells or bring everyone out. Otherwise, if you're your own model, if you're going to be doing the poses, I wouldn't be, you can either set your own timer and then do the pose with the students, or you can show them and then sit back up and say, all right, I'm going to be holding the space and now you do the pose. All right, number 7, simple background, simple technology. Don't worry so much about all of those things being perfect. Having 3 cameras and 3 angles and the fancy schmancy stuff. Remember that it's about connection, and it's about education, and it's about the experience that your students are going to have in these poses. So trust that the poses are powerful and that they're doing their magic. And all we have to do as teachers is offer them, and it will make a big difference for our students. All right, last point, number 8. Remember, this is something that Mama says, people don't just come to your classes for yoga, they come for who you are. So remember that when you're transferring your work online. Your students come to you partially because of you, for your quirky, unique personality. And so let yourself be you, even when you're teaching online. It's a new format. Many of us, maybe you feel nervous or uncertain about the tech, how it's going to work and everything. Once you get over that, as much as possible, I encourage you to let yourself come through. And don't try to be perfect. You're not some kind of, yoga model. It's just you sharing time and space with your students and helping them remember what they anyway already know, which is that we all need a little more time unplugged, in silence, in stillness, listening to our own heart. Okay, so I wish you the best of luck. I can't wait to hear how it goes. Leave a comment below and let me know how your restorative classes online are going. Best of luck. You're going to do great. Namaste.